The unexpected arrival. The first sign that Leona Nakamura's carefully constructed solitude was about to shatter came not with a bang, but with a whisper. A strange, metallic whisper that sliced through the midnight air outside her remote cabin. Leona paused, soldering iron hovering above the delicate circuit board she'd been repairing. At 45, her steady hands were still her greatest asset, even if her eyes needed the magnifying glasses perched on her nose these days. She tilted her head, listening as the sound came again, a rhythmic scraping followed by something that resembled labored breathing. Probably just a raccoon, she muttered, returning to her work. Living alone in the mountains of northern Idaho for the past 8 years had taught her to distinguish between the sounds that required attention and those that didn't. But when the cabin's lights flickered, plunging her workshop into momentary darkness before her backup generator kicked in, Leona knew this wasn't wildlife. She set down her tools, removed her glasses, and reached for the shotgun she kept mounted above her workbench, a precaution she'd never needed to use, until now. The night air hit Leona's face like a cold slap as she stepped onto her porch. The usual symphony of crickets and night birds had fallen silent, replaced by an eerie stillness that made the hair on her arms stand up. A peculiar scent hung in the air, something acrid and unfamiliar, like ozone mixed with copper. Her flashlight beam cut through the darkness, sweeping across the tree line that surrounded her property. Nothing moved in the shadows. Leona was about to retreat back inside when a faint blue glow caught her eye, emanating from behind her woodshed. "Hello?" she called, keeping her shotgun ready. "This is private property." The only response was a series of clicks that sounded almost mechanical. Leona approached cautiously, her light revealing a trail of scorched earth leading to the source of the blue illumination. What she found made her nearly drop both gun and flashlight. A figure lay crumpled against her woodpile. Humanoid, but undeniably alien. Standing, it would have been well over 6 feet tall, with limbs too long and joints too numerous to be human. Its skin was a translucent blue-gray that pulsed with internal light, revealing shadowy organs and structures beneath. Where a human would have hair, this being had filaments that moved independently, like underwater plants responding to currents. Most striking were its eyes, 3 of them, arranged in a triangle across a face that was almost featureless save for a small opening that might have been a mouth. The eyes fixed on Leona, vast and black with pinpricks of light that seemed to reflect galaxies. "Help," the creature said, the word emerging not from its mouth but from a device embedded in its chest, a complex mechanism that sparked and smoked. "Sanctuary." Leona hadn't spoken more than a dozen words to another living being in months. Now she was face to face with something that shouldn't exist outside of science fiction. Her first instinct was to run, to call authorities, but what authorities handled alien encounters? "You're injured," she said instead, scientific curiosity overriding fear as she noticed the blue fluid leaking from the being's side. "Critical damage," the alien confirmed, its voice mechanical through the translation device. "Pursued. Dangerous to help. More dangerous not to." Leona lowered her shotgun but didn't set it aside. "Who's pursuing you?" "Collectors. They seek what I carry." The alien's hand, 7-fingered and webbed, moved to a crystalline structure on its chest. "Knowledge that must not be lost." A sound like distant thunder rolled across the sky. The alien's eyes widened, the lights within them pulsing frantically. "They come. Please. I am Zorith, Archivist of the Seventh Accord. Help me, or they will destroy not just me, but all who could have been saved." Leona Nakamura hadn't left her mountain sanctuary in years, not since the accident that took her research team and her reputation. She'd retreated from a world that had branded her a failure and a danger. She'd sworn to never again work on technology that could harm others. Yet now, looking at this wounded alien whose eyes held both intelligence and desperation, she found herself making a decision that would change everything. "Can you walk?" she asked, extending her hand. "With assistance," Zorith replied. "My workshop has tools. Maybe I can help with that device." She nodded toward the smoking mechanism. What is it exactly? Translation matrix. Life support. Memory core. The alien's voice grew weaker with each word. Without repairs, I will cease functioning within 12 of your hours. Leona helped Zorith to his feet, surprised at how light he was despite his height. Together they made their way toward her cabin, the alien leaning heavily against her. I'm Leona, she said, feeling oddly compelled to introduce herself. Leona Nakamura. Designation noted, Zorith replied formally. Your assistance is unexpected. Yeah, well, finding an alien bleeding on my woodpile was unexpected too, Leona muttered. Guess we're both having an unusual night. Inside her workshop, Leona cleared space on her workbench, helping Zorith onto it. Under the bright lights, she could see the damage more clearly. The translation matrix was fractured, and what appeared to be circuitry beneath the alien's translucent skin had been burnt in several places. This technology, she whispered, examining the matrix closely. It's like nothing I've ever seen. Beyond your current development, Zorith confirmed. But principles similar. Energy conversion. Information processing. Biological integration. Leona had once been at the forefront of cybernetic research before everything went wrong. Her work on neural interfaces had been groundbreaking, and then catastrophic. I haven't practiced medicine or engineering in a long time, she warned. You fear failure, Zorith observed, his middle eye fixing on her while the other two scanned the workshop. As do I. But inaction guarantees it. The distant thunder sound came again, closer now. Through her window, Leona saw lights moving in the sky, too fast and too patterned to be aircraft. Those collectors you mentioned, she said. They're here already, aren't they? Advanced scout drones, Zorith confirmed. Searching. Soon, the hunters themselves will follow. Leona took a deep breath, then reached for her tools. Tell me what you need me to do. As she worked through the night, guided by Zoritha's instructions, Leona felt something she hadn't experienced in years, the thrill of solving an impossible problem, of pushing beyond known science into something new. The translation matrix was a marvel of engineering, combining technologies she could barely comprehend. By dawn, she had managed to stabilize it, though full repairs would take more time they might not have. Why are these collectors after you? She asked, wiping sweat from her brow. What knowledge are you protecting that's worth crossing the stars for? Zoritha's eyes dimmed, the light within them retreating to distant points. The truth about what happened to Earth's sister world. Earth has a sister world. Had, Zorith corrected. Your kind was not the first to evolve intelligence in this system. The collectors erased all evidence of the civilization that came before. Now they would erase the memory that it ever existed. Outside, the drone of scout ships grew louder, circling ever closer to Leona's mountain refuge. Why come here? Leona asked. Why risk bringing this danger to Earth? Because, Zorith said, all three eyes now focused intently on her, humans are the last living relatives of those who were erased. And you have a right to know what was taken from you. Secrets between stars. Leona stared at Zorith, her mind struggling to process his words. Sister world. You're saying there was another intelligent species in our solar system? Correct. The fourth planet. You call it Mars. Zoritha's filaments rippled, creating patterns that seemed to express emotion. Once, it teemed with life. A civilization that reached toward the stars before yours discovered fire. The alien's revelation hit Leona like a physical blow. Archaeological evidence had suggested microbes might have once existed on Mars, but an entire civilization? She wanted to dismiss it as fantasy, yet the being before her was undeniable proof that humanity wasn't alone in the universe. The workshop isn't safe, Leona said, pushing aside her shock to focus on the immediate threat. Those drones are getting closer. We need somewhere with better shielding. She helped Zorith to his feet. The repairs to his translation matrix had stabilized his condition, but he still moved with obvious pain. Together they made their way to the basement, where Leona had built a Faraday cage years ago to test sensitive electronics. The metal mesh should block their scans, she explained, closing the heavy door behind them. At least, it works against Earth technology. No guarantees with whatever those collectors are using. The basement was cramped and cold, filled with equipment from Leona's former life. Prototype neural interfaces and half-assembled robotics gathered dust on metal shelves, relics of the research that had once defined her. Your technology, Zorith observed, three-fingered hand hovering over a neural transmitter. Primitive but ingenious. You were attempting brain-machine integration. Leona flinched. That was a long time ago. It didn't end well. You blame yourself for something, Zorith said. It wasn't a question. 5 people died because of my work, Leona replied, her voice tight. I pushed too far, too fast. There was a surge during testing. The interfaces overloaded. I was the only survivor. Her hand unconsciously moved to the back of her neck, where a faint scar remained. I came here afterward. Away from people. Away from the chance to hurt anyone else. Zoritha's eyes dimmed in what seemed like sympathy. You preserve life by isolating yourself. I preserve truth by carrying it across stars. Different methods, same purpose. Above them, the drone of the scout ships intensified. Something large passed overhead, causing dust to sift down from the ceiling. That's not a drone, Leona whispered. The collector's vessel has arrived, Zorith confirmed. Time grows short. I must share what I know before they find us. The alien extended his hand, revealing a small crystalline device nestled in his palm. This contains the complete historical record of the Martian civilization. Their art. Their science. Their demise. Why would these collectors erase an entire civilization? Leona asked, staring at the crystal. What could possibly justify that? Fear, Zorith said simply. The Martians discovered a principle that threatened the collector's dominance. A method of consciousness transfer that would have made immortality possible without physical form. The collectors believe such power belongs only to them. Leona thought of her own failed neural interface work. And they think humans might rediscover this technology. They know you will. It is inevitable. Your species follows the same developmental path. Zoritha's filaments twisted in what might have been agitation. That is why I came to Earth. To warn you, and to give you the knowledge to defend yourselves when they return. The ground shook with a distant impact, and alarms from Leona's perimeter sensors began to wail. They found the crash site, Zorith said. They will trace my energy signature from there. Leona cursed under her breath. How much time do we have? Perhaps an hour. Not longer. She paced the small space, thinking rapidly. You said your device contains Martian knowledge. Does that include their consciousness transfer technology? Yes. It is why the collectors will destroy us both to obtain it. Or, Leona said slowly, her eyes moving to her abandoned neural interface equipment, it's how we stop them. Understanding dawned in Zoritha's trio of eyes. You propose to use the Martian method? With your technology, it would be dangerous. Possibly fatal. I've got nothing to lose, Leona replied with a grim smile. And everything to prove. Working frantically, they cobbled together a system using Leona's equipment and components from Zoritha's translation matrix. The alien guided her through modifications that seemed impossible, combining Earth technology with principles beyond human understanding. This interface will allow direct connection between your consciousness and the crystal's data, Zorith explained as they worked. If successful, you will experience the Martian knowledge as if they were your own memories. Leona made a final connection, then sat back. And if it's not successful? Neural cascade failure. What you humans would call brain death. Comforting, Leona muttered, securing electrodes to her temples. But if it works, will I understand how to use their technology against the collectors? More than understand. You will embody it. Zoritha's middle eye fixed on her. Are you certain, Leona Nakamura? This choice cannot be unmade. The sounds of destruction grew closer. Through the basement's small window, Leona could see flashes of light as something methodically leveled the forest surrounding her cabin. 8 years ago, I ran away because my technology killed people, she said, her voice steadier than she felt. If there's a chance to use it to save people instead, to save an entire planet, how could I not try? Zorith nodded, placing the crystal into the modified interface. Then we begin. The moment Leona activated the system, her world exploded into color and sensation. Her consciousness expanded beyond her body, beyond the basement, beyond Earth itself. She saw Mars as it once was, red plains covered in vast biodomes, cities carved into canyon walls, ships launching toward distant stars. She experienced millennia of Martian history in moments, their discoveries, their art, their struggle against extinction as their atmosphere thinned. She felt their triumph when they developed consciousness transfer, allowing their minds to exist beyond their failing bodies. And she witnessed the arrival of the collectors, their systematic destruction of Martian civilization, and the desperate plan to preserve their knowledge by seeding it on the neighboring world where primitive humans were just beginning to evolve. When Leona's consciousness returned to her body, she found Zorith supporting her as she slumped forward. Blood trickled from her nose, but her mind was clearer than it had been in years. I understand now, she whispered. I know what we need to do. Before she could explain, the ceiling above them cracked. Dust and debris rained down as something massive landed on her cabin. They have found us, Zorith said, helping her to her feet. Can you initiate the protocol? Leona nodded, fingers flying across the makeshift console they'd built. The Martians developed a frequency that disrupts the collector's neural network. Their consciousness exists across multiple bodies simultaneously, it's their weakness. As the basement door splintered inward, Leona activated the signal. Through the dust and falling debris, she saw them, tall, gleaming figures with bodies of polished metal and faces of blank, reflective surfaces. The collectors had arrived. But as the signal pulsed outward, the creatures froze. Their reflective faces rippled, distorted, as if something beneath the surface was in agony. It's working, Zorith breathed. The largest collector staggered forward despite the signal, its arm extending toward Leona. This knowledge is forbidden, it said, its voice like grinding metal. Surrender the archivist. Leona increased the signal strength, feeling blood now streaming from her eyes as the neural load threatened to overwhelm her. This knowledge doesn't belong to you, she replied. And neither does this planet. As the signal reached its peak, the collectors convulsed in unison. Their metallic bodies cracked, light spilling from within. With a sound like dying stars, they collapsed to the ground, empty shells. Silence fell. The only sound was Leona's ragged breathing and the soft hum of the interface still connected to her temples. Is it over? She asked, her vision blurring. No, Zorith said, gently removing the electrodes from her head. It has only begun. You now carry what they most fear, the proof that immortality need not be their monopoly. The knowledge that humanity's sister species found a path they tried to erase. Leona looked at the fallen collectors, then at the crystal still glowing with Martian knowledge. What happens now? Now, Zorith said, his filaments forming a pattern she somehow recognized as hope, we rebuild. These were merely an advance force. Others will come when they learn what has happened here. We must prepare humanity for what lies ahead. Leona thought of her years of isolation, of hiding from her failures. She thought of the knowledge now within her, knowledge that could transform human civilization or destroy it. I guess my retirement is over, she said with a weak smile. Hope I remember how to talk to humans. It's been a while.